I was actually 4 years old. I wasn't even technically a believer. And I was talking with my mom, and I said, Mom, I really feel that God is calling me to be a missionary. And she said, well, how do you know that God wants you to be a missionary? And I said, well, I just feel like he's asking me to. And she said, well, I really believe that. I think that's probably really the Lord speaking to you. And I said, well, what do I need to do to become a missionary? And she said, well, first you have to ask Jesus into your heart. And so that was the beginning of it. And I was 4 years old. And my grandfather had just been to Venezuela with the Gideons. And he had brought me back a necklace with the flower of Venezuela. And so that was kind of the beginning. And I still wear that necklace and remember very well the beginning of my call to be a missionary.
This question is, what does a typical day look like for you in Mexico?
Well, because I have 3 kids, it's a lot of getting them ready for school and working with them after school, doing homework. Pretty much they are our first disciples, and we work on holy habits, seeking the Lord in everything that they do. And then when they're at school, then primarily I am translating materials for spiritual formation with leaders. We are preparing for retreats. For instance, I did a retreat with 60 women over the whole weekend on understanding who they are as the beloved of God and how that can affect their entire life. And helping my husband, that's pretty much it. We do a lot of counseling too. I think God is really starting to break through in Mexico. Mexico's been a really tough field, but I think one of the things that God is starting to do is break through the stronghold of wanting to have it my way and staying true to the family beliefs and syncretism. I think that he is doing a new thing in Mexico where he is starting to break people of pagan religion beliefs that are quite prevalent still today in the families. So he's starting to do a really neat thing by bringing whole families to the Lord and being able to break with those ancient traditions. I think they need to pray for a heart for Jesus above all. Mexico has, for so long, since the 1500s, been enslaved to Marianism. And yes, we believe that Mary is the mother of Jesus, but Jesus is not ever seen as powerful as God. He's, always portrayed as suffering and dying or as a little baby, and they worship this little baby. They carry around dolls and call them baby Jesus, and worship idols, basically. So pray for that freedom from idolatry, from the stronghold of not worshiping Jesus as God, because that's what it's all about, is Jesus. I think because Mexico is kind of a new field, this is just beginning to happen. We have seen from our time in Mexico City and in Tijuana and Guadalajara, several people start on the road. And there was, for instance, one lady that she came because she was told to come, and she didn't really want to come. But she heard that our house was a house of prayer. So she came because she had lots of problems, and she just wanted people to pray for her problems and see some solutions, some relief. And instead, she found a group of people who were very different. And so she came a second time and a third time, and very soon her whole family was coming. and forced to come as well. But then they also began to understand that this was a different community and what that was all about. And they actually started impacting their neighborhood and brought their neighbors. We were able to disciple their neighbors and their neighbors' kids, and right now they have a whole church that has begun up in that area. Advantages: they get to travel, they get to live a life that a lot of people don't ever get to experience. They get to learn another language, which will be highly beneficial for them in the future too. They get the experience of seeing the world and understanding more than one culture. And the downside is oftentimes because they are different, they are picked on or they are isolated. Isolation's a big one. Oftentimes healthcare is really difficult. We've, as a family, really struggled with health. And I think that it's invaluable for these kids because no matter where they go, they can find something in common with anybody because they have such a broad worldview.